Welcome to the show. Today we're talking about Tyson Fury and whether he will ever fight again. So if you appreciate the show, if you like the show, please consider hitting the subscribe button. I do appreciate everyone that does that. And feel free to hit me up in the comments. Love to hear from anyone, regardless of whether it's positive or negative. Let's start the conversation in the comments below. So as I say, today we're talking about whether I believe Tyson Fury will ever fight again or not. Now we know that the heavyweight division was stale for quite some years. It was devoid of big fights. And then there was a bit of a revival. And this revival was based on the promise of young talent coming through, but primarily because Tyson Fury captivated the audience, captivated boxing fans, particularly in defeating Wladimir Klitschko, and that completely changed it. Now since then we've seen Wladimir Klitschko be defeated again and then retire, and that's realistically been the big fight. The big fight in the heavyweight division has been Klitschko versus Anthony Joshua, and there really has been it's been devoid of any other kind of exciting or big matchups. Okay. And one of the main reasons was because Tyson Fury's been out of the picture, and we know that we're looking back to when he won that title. We were seeing so many potential fights. We were seeing trilogies and a real kind of the belt swapping amongst a number of fighters over the years, and really bringing us a number of massive fights, and that just hasn't happened. Okay, and it's a real shame, because Tyson Fury, if you've followed this channel, you know that I'm a huge fan. I wouldn't say I'm biased, but I've been a big fan. I predicted that he would be the world champion back in 2009, and I was proved right. And I like saying this every time I talk about Tyson Fury, because it's one of the few times I was right. So you've got to hold on to any victory you can get. But as I say, today we're talking about whether he's going to fight, and the reason why I've decided to talk about this is because of the big story that broke yesterday, which was all about the UK anti-doping agency, whatever they call themselves, was that they could be in massive trouble due to the whole way that they've gone about Tyson Fury. Now, Tyson Fury tested positive for a banned substance back in June 2016, and since then Fury's always defended his innocence in the matter, and he has said that it's because he ate some uncastrated wild boar. I mean, it seems incredible, the science behind all this, that you could eat meat and the natural byproduct of the animal kind of is strong enough to be absorbed into your body and to change like the chemistry of your own body. It's amazing. It's an amazing thing if this is true, which I'm sure in some cases it does. Obviously, a lot of people believe that Tyson Fury is a drug cheat. We just don't know. Okay, and because of this massive case, the legal fees have stacked up, and the UK anti-doping agency, they only have a limited budget. They only have a limited budget every year, and the problem that we've got, the problem that they've got, is that if Tyson Fury wins the case, he would have the opportunity to sue for damages. Okay, he has the opportunity to sue for damages, which is effectively loss of earnings. Okay, and for someone like him, that could be millions and millions, and it could be more than their annual budget. Okay, it could be a lot more, because we know that Tyson Fury, if he had fought, he would have been making a lot of money, because the fights would have been Wladimir Klitschko, they would have been Anthony Joshua, they might have even been, we might have finally got that David Haye fight, and all of those fights would have been in big venues, the O2, possibly Wembley. They would have been box office. There would have been massive amounts of sponsorship. there would have been serious money made by all the parties, and in particular Tyson Fury. Okay, so there's a big worry from them that they're going to have to be bailed out, because they're not an organisation that can be that can go bankrupt and be wrapped up, because they're so important. Because the anti-doping, we want to eradicate cheats. We want to eradicate cheats. That's the whole point. That's the whole purpose of their existence. And we want cheats to be out of the way. So they can't be allowed to be fizzled out, because they are so integral to the sport moving forward. But what I would say is that the question here is that would there have been any loss of earnings? Because effectively we're saying that Tyson Fury hasn't fought for 2 years, okay, and he has actually said himself, let me just see the quote, set me free, okay. He wants the authorities to set him free, okay, and he's almost implying that he hasn't fought since the Wladimir Klitschko super fight, because this has been hanging over him. But the thing is, we know that there's two factors that kind of disprove this. One is that he went so public on his mental health problems, and this was the main reason why he pulled out of the rematch with Klitschko, or the second time they arranged it. He pulled out because of the mental health issues. He relinquished those belts, and it was a very public situation. There wasn't a very the public weren't warned to him off the back of this, but it was the reason he gave, and he went public on an interview saying that he'd taken a lot of cocaine and blah blah blah, all that sort of stuff. Okay, so you have to say, like, so has he not fought because of that reason, or has he not fought because he had this case and this issue with UK anti-doping? Okay, so it is what it is. So then the second factor is that Hughie Fury is wrapped up in the same situation. Okay, he failed the test as well, and he has the same thing over his head. But we know that Hughie Fury has fought since, and not only has he fought since, he's actually fought for a world title, a version of the world title. Okay, so it obviously wasn't holding him back. It wasn't hanging over him to prevent him from fighting, in the same way that it's preventing Tyson Fury from fighting. So I just thought it would be useful just to kind of run through the thoughts on that, okay, and how important it is for this to be rectified. Some sort of solution has to be made to ensure that UK anti-doping continues to operate to the standard they're operating in. But we need to get the truth behind what's happened with Tyson Fury, okay? Now, moving forward and talking about whether I actually think he will fight again, my initial thoughts is that Tyson Fury will not fight again, that we have seen the last of him. I mean, every time I see him, he's in just horrific shape. I mean horrific shape. Now, he talks about the fact that he's at the same sort of weight that he was 6 months before the first Wladimir Klitschko fight, and he lost 7 or 8 stone or whatever it was to get down to fighting weight. I mean, if that's true, that's quite remarkable. But the difference we have to accept now is that he's now been at this sort of level for close to 2 years. So he's been at a level of health for 2 years. He hasn't really been in shape. Can he get down to that? Can he get down to 18 stone or whatever, 17 stone? Yes, he probably can. But what are the ramifications of being at this weight for so long on his body be? I mean, it's not going to be great. Now, obviously, losing that weight will only be of benefit to him. But in terms of being a high-level athlete, I mean, it's going to be a problem for him. I genuinely believe that. And when you look at what he did on that Wladimir Klitschko fight, he was in the shape of his life. You watch those fights, as I say, I've followed him for years and years and years. He'd never been in that shape before. He'd never looked that lean. that agile. He'd shown skills and tricks and shown what it was about in the past, but everything came together for that Wladimir Klitschko fight to be the perfect version of Tyson Fury. So I honestly believe that he will not fight again. I mean, I saw him the other week being interviewed, and he was talking about saying that he owed Chisora another fight. I mean, it's not wouldn't sell at all. It would just be for fun. I mean, you've got to believe that if Tyson Fury is coming back, he's coming back and he's going to be fighting Anthony Joshua. That's the only fight that's viable, and it would make an absolute $1 trillion. Okay, but my honest opinion is I just don't see him being capable of getting into the shape mentally and physically to give himself the opportunity to do himself justice. He could get into shape and fight and make a lot of money, but I mean, it would completely destroy the legacy that he's created, even if it is somewhat tarnished at the moment. Anyway, there you go. That's just a few thoughts I thought I would throw upon the subject of Tyson Fury, as it was an interesting story that I read yesterday, an interesting development on the whole anti-doping in boxing and the future of Tyson Fury. If you've enjoyed this video, you've got any comments on it, please hit me up in the comment section below, and remember to hit that subscribe button. We'll see you next time.